could not be more pleased to be presenting The Fixer in the beautiful Castro Theater. The executive producers of this film all have a relationship to us, and very special ones at that, and I want to kind of acknowledge them now. Lisa Kleiner-Chanhoff and Alex Witherall are on our board of directors, and it's wonderful to be part of this. And Gardner Grad and George Rush are longtime supporters of the organization. And we have a new friend in Rob Afshar. Thank you so much for supporting this film. The other part of this film, which many people might not know, is that this film was supported significantly by the San Francisco Film Society and the Kenneth Rainin Foundation. We could not be more proud with our association with the Kenneth Rainin Foundation, and tonight we have an incredibly special person with us, someone who's been on a journey with us for more than half a decade to actually create a lasting Bay Area film community. And Jennifer Rainin, I hope you see the results tonight. This is an incredible film, an incredible testament to your work and your ideas about what we can actually create in this city. So thank you so much. The other P in the pod of the San Francisco Film Society KRF relationship is going to come out now and introduce the filmmaker. She's a marvel. She actually gets things done that no other organization in the country has been able to get done. And as a result, we've been able to support some extraordinary films over the years. Please welcome the head of Filmmaker 360 at the San Francisco Film Society, Michelle Turner-Soleo.
Hi, everybody. I actually have notes tonight. It's a very emotional moment. This is the dream. Ian and I talked about this a long time ago, having a hometown screening, such a place as the Castro. So I just want to take this moment and acknowledge all of you who are out here to experience this film together. It's an incredible thing. I want to also thank Jen Rainin at this moment. We've had years of support and partnership with each other and for our work we do with filmmakers. And so much of what we do in Filmmaker 360 is because of her and her incredible support of the Kenneth Rainin Foundation. And all the work that we get to do supporting filmmakers having sustainable careers. We build and nurture community. We look for ways to keep filmmakers in the Bay and bring filmmakers to the Bay and build a family of filmmakers that are really joined with a common spirit and ambition. We look for films that are ambitious in their very nature and that have incredibly profound characters. And I have to say, The Fixer is a perfect Filmmaker 360 film. I'm so proud to support it. I'm so proud to have Ian and everybody who helped make The Fixer happen part of our family. Ian, come on out. We support it with 5 different grants, and I would do it all over again.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you Michelle and Noah and the whole organization here. For me, it's a great homecoming to not just this theater, but this area to come and share this film with you guys. So I'm deeply grateful, and I'm going to save almost everything for after the film. We're going to have a Q&A and get into everything, and I have a bunch of special guests that are going to come up with me and talk about the film, but I'd rather you guys just get a chance to experience the movie, and then afterwards we can talk about any and all things that come up. But I'm just deeply grateful to be here and to share it with you all, so thank you. And yeah, we're bringing everybody else out as well, so come on out, folks. Paul Felton, my writing partner, Dominic Rains, Tim Kniffin, producer Caroline Buntoon, co-producer Lily Whitsett. Thank you. And I just wanted to say, again, thank you guys for coming out, and thanks to Michelle and the San Francisco Film Society for helping us make our very strange movie. Really, no, we couldn't have done it without you guys, and it's a huge honor to be back here. I also wanted just to, I know there's cast and crew in the audience, and I want to just give a big shout out to them right now and a hand of applause to all of them. There's also family and friends. You know, from my folks are here, as well as I have brothers and nephews and nieces who we tortured during the process of making this movie and had them do all sorts of things for us. So if we're still family after this, then that's a good sign. So I salute you. And finally, all the local folks from Sonoma County who came out and made this happen. So really appreciate all that. You guys killed it.
All right, let's get started. Ian, can you talk a little bit about sort of the inspiration for this film?
Yeah, so my background is I was a documentary filmmaker. I made films in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I worked with many different fixers and translators, one of whom was murdered in the process of making a film that I was working on, and one of whom ended up making it safely to asylum in Europe. And I myself knew I wanted to stop making documentaries, and also was fascinated by that experience that he was having there after he'd escaped the danger of war. He'd spent his entire life essentially trying to escape Afghanistan, and once he got to safety, he didn't know what to do with himself and was facing this much quieter kind of existential crisis. And I couldn't sort of shake that idea, so that became a very early starting point. And then the second key for us, when Paul and I began to think about this as an initial inspiration, was this idea that we had a chance to reverse a very familiar dynamic. We're very familiar with the idea of the Western journalist who goes to the foreign land to tell us how it is. And I thought we had a chance to tell a story about an Afghan journalist reporting on America. And that became a sort of guiding light for Paul and myself. And then the other thing is that when you're working on a film like this that starts with something that's that heavy in a certain way, it became important for us to keep writing to a point where we began to surprise ourselves, and so the film took on a life of its own that was far beyond the initial intention, and that for us was key. And the last point about that is that I grew up in a small town in Northern California, and was always struck by the beauty of the place and also the contradictions, a place that is full of endless possibility and also perhaps people deep in the redwoods going to seed, and I was always interested in that combination, so I kind of brought all those experiences to bear in this heightened exploration of that landscape. So that was the beginning of it.
Actually, can you guys talk a little bit about the co-writing experience and how you sort of developed the story? We actually met right after doing the labs at Sundance. Can you talk about that experience a little bit?
Yeah, so Paul and I have written together for many, many years, and it's something that can be an incredibly freeing experience, because what it allows you to do is to take risks, because you write knowing that someone else that you trust has your back, and so you can go big and try for something as wild as you can, and then see if it rings true or if it's false. And there'll be times where we try something and we realize it just didn't work. But we don't actually write in the same room. We spend months and months writing notes together, and then we'll have conversations, and then
it's totally inefficient. I don't recommend it. It takes a very long time.
This is true. We don't write that fast. trying to think anything more on that. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's what I got. I mean, you know, the only other thing I'll say is that Ian came to this having had a very, very heavy experience with his friend who was killed, having been to multiple war zones. And I came to this as somebody who was like working a temp job trying to pay my student loans off. So there was something very intimidating initially about writing a movie about an Afghan guy having this experience. But Ian, you know, made it easy because he was so generous as a co-writer, and it was also easier than I thought it would be to write him in the particular place that he was in, because the people around him were so much stranger in some ways than he was. So that, yeah, our conceit helped me a lot.
No, and I think one of the keys for us with writing this character was, yes, I had this experience and knew a lot of Afghan guys we talked about, and one of the things that kept coming up was this idea of, I hate being pitied, you know, where are these stories of the complicated inner life of an Afghan guy? Where is the sexuality, the sense of humor, all those things? And so that became a way to free us up to treat this character as a full human being trying to become the fullest expression of himself, as opposed to a victim of war, because that was the other part of this process of realizing that so many of these stories, we're used to seeing these stories of Afghans through the lens of war and war trauma, and that, I think, denies the fullness of living and the full complexity of a human being. And so that became a key part of it. But I have to say, the other part of the writing process is trusting the lead actor, who comes in and brings his own humanity to a role. Because when you're writing, it's on the page.
Captain Phillips, and we did a call with wonderful partners out in Fremont. We wanted to exhaust the possibility of casting an Afghan or an Afghan American in this role, and we brought on casting directors in the UK and in New York and LA, and we went through 3,500 men over the course of about 2 years, and it was a pretty morbid process. I mean, when going through the agency land, the reels of these men who can carry an entire film, and we met some of the most talented actors that are out there. Their reels were playing Terrorist Number 5 and 24, and Terrorist Number 10 and Homeland, and the responsibility of knowing that this part is, I mean, Dominic just won Tribeca a couple days ago.
Just to continue on that, it was a long journey, and it ended up being that there was only, and I'll let Dom speak to this, but there was only 3 days. Ultimately, Dom was cast 3 days before we went into production, after many ups and downs of various things. And I told, you know, everybody involved, and Caroline had my back on this, is that we wouldn't shoot, even though we were in danger of spending money, unless we had an actor we believed could carry it, because you work so hard on something, and if you don't feel like you can go in every day with an actor and believe that they can deliver at this high level, then for me it wasn't worth it. And ultimately, after, you know, a very tumultuous process, we found Dom, and I knew we could do it, and then he came in 3 days before and just laid it all on the line every day, and it was humbling to behold. So I'm deeply in debt.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience? Had you been to Northern California before? Was this a new discovery for you, being up here?
Yeah, I had driven through a couple of times and spent, you know, a weekend in San Francisco having a good time or something, but I didn't get out to Sonoma County and Sebastopol and the surrounding areas the way we did, and it was a beautiful discovery. It was a beautiful discovery.
Could you talk a little bit about your process of working with Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came in 3 days before, and although although so I got a call in June to go through the script and put myself on tape for this character, and we were going back and forth a couple of times, and I got to talk to him on the via Skype and then on the phone. And I kind of fell in love with him. I was like, this guy, I got to work with this guy. And funny enough, I didn't end up getting the role to begin with. It ended up going to another guy. And I'll leave what happened from there, but basically I ended up getting a call 3 days beforehand, and then basically, I'm going on a tangent here.
Just go there.
So the way I saw it was, I was coming in 3 days to this part, and I was just looking for some common denominators. So for me, if Osman was coming 3 days into the United States, he had an asylum. So I was like, okay, great. So he's new, I'm new. And then I was like, well, I don't know anybody. And Osman didn't know anybody. And I had this desire to, to fit in and be liked and to make sure that, everything was gonna, move smoothly. And I just kind of, it's like I was conscious of it, and at the same time I wasn't trying to be conscious of it. But it ultimately, when I kind of found those common denominators, I was like, okay, this is going to be the base. And then from there, I looked at Ian's documentary, and I looked closely at Jamal, the gentleman who had died, and then I kind of drew my experiences from. So I was born in Iran, but I left when I was 2. Grew up in London and Dallas and LA, but I kind of had a bird's eye view growing up of my experiences with my father and, family members or friends coming from overseas, and there was always this earnestness to who they were and this deep desire to wanting to get along with everybody and to understand the language and to be as American as they could be, even though they knew they never would be. That kind of set a foundation, and something that Ian told me that also was definitely a defining point was, don't play the whole film in every scene. Let's just take it scene by scene by scene, which kind of opened it up. And the beautiful thing about working with Ian is he knows what he wants, and he's very detail-oriented, but not so much that he's not allowing for new variables or a certain spontaneity to happen. So that can also be a guiding factor. So it just became this kind of dance and this nice flow, and he just allowed this place to open up as wide as it needed to, and then whenever he needed to, he'd bring it back down. It was just this beautiful kind of gorgeous, harmonious, melodic kind of dance between us, and it was, I couldn't have asked for a better captain
And one thing I'd say is that, because part of the thing is you're working on it scene by scene level, but a lot of the work we do in between when we have time is try to talk about some of these deeper things. Like we always imagine in a way, like obviously this is a character who's trying to find purpose outside of war in a certain way, and one of the things that we realized that was underpinning him, or we thought would have power, is this idea of somebody who's trying to free himself from death. And this idea that if he could penetrate the mystery of this place, he could figure out how to be, he could figure out how to belong in the world. Because essentially, this film is an existential mystery, more than it is a conventional one. So you're trying to work on both this deep level and on the spontaneity of the response in the moment. So trying to remind, so when you have great actors, you're trying to remind them where they are in the process. You're shooting everything out of order, of course, but also you're trying to identify those core deep things that are like our primal urges that manifest over time, so that there is that shape and that movement. And again, with an actor like Dom, who's so responsive to direction and to experimentation, we're able to figure out when you bring those layers out. When is that pressure building? When does it start to emerge from below? When do you see it on his face and when is it being pushed down to have that cumulative effect, you know?
Okay, so I think we're going to go out for questions. Does anyone have questions out there? Okay, I'm going to ask one last question. Can you talk about working with your incredible DP? The cinematography was so beautiful, evocative, Northern California.
Yeah, so Adam Newport-Berra is a wonderful, young, incredibly talented DP. And so I had a lot of ideas beforehand about how I wanted to shoot the film, but he just totally elevated those thoughts. And one of the sort of simple things that we talked a lot about was that we weren't going to do a lot of establishing shots, and it was going to be about trying to move through locations to reveal them, both in terms of revealing the larger landscapes and in terms of these houses. And the second sort of theory with that, which goes back to the idea of writing, is we try to write scenes that feel like worlds exist before you enter that scene and will continue long afterwards. And so the shooting was trying to evoke that as well, that you're passing through these places, and the whole sort of cinematic approach is the idea of a cumulative effect. You know, if it's not based around total conventional narrative structure all the time, it's about an architecture of meaning. It's about a way of how you accumulate meaning over time, and that's of course performance, and it's about cinematic gestures, and it's that sort of dance that you don't know if it's going to land until you're showing it to people, you know. So, but Adam was a tremendous part of this film, that's for sure.
You know, real quick, I just wanted to mention that in the short, because we shot this in what, 25 days? 25 days, and for the amount of work that we had ahead of us each day, how lenient you were in our consistent exploration. It never really deviated from exploration. We knew what was on the page, we knew what was going to happen, yet there was so much room for exploration and discovery that, like Tim and I, and same thing with Melissa and James and Thomas and Rachel, there was enough time, and I guess it's, instead of saying, well, let's just do it over and over and over again, it was like, let's find it, and then when we do, we only have to do it a couple of times because it's there. And we went, we would take a moment together and go off and had some great conversations, and then we would come back, and then Ian was kind of like the father, and be like, yeah, let's do it, and then no, this. It was really nice. It was really a great cathartic journey. You don't really get that too often, where you're kind of pressed for time, but at the same time you get this room for exploration. It was lovely. It was really a lovely journey to be a part of.
I think about that with that scene with Tim as well, in terms of, because that was a scene that some scenes are very controlled, and some scenes it's like, this is going to get loose and wild. And so that was a scene where we had some time to let it get a little unhinged, and I love how that came out and how much you went for it. So much appreciated.
Thanks, baby.
That's all you got.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your beautiful film with us. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
And before we leave, we want to thank you again for coming tonight. This was a truly Northern California made movie in every way, and we want to invite up to the stage, we'll be brief, we promise, all of our incredible executive producers who are San Francisco based. Please come up, all our incredible actors and all our incredible crew. Please join us on the stage.